The great crystal halls of Zephyria Prime sparkled under 3 purple suns. Inside the massive dome, beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting of the year. The Galactic Council's annual meeting decided which species could join their exclusive club, and which ones had to wait. Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the corridors, her simple black uniform looking plain next to the bright colors and strange shapes of alien clothing. Other beings towered over her or skittered past on multiple legs. Some floated in the air inside bubble-like suits. All of them stared at the human woman as she passed. Chen had trained for this moment her entire life. She carried humanity's hopes in a small datapad that held all of Earth's achievements, but as she entered the main chamber, her heart sank. The other ambassadors were already whispering and pointing at her. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in circles that went up to the ceiling. Each species had their own section with special equipment to keep them comfortable. The Veltar needed high heat, so their area glowed red. The water-breathing depths stayed in large tanks. The energy beings called Axiom flickered like living lightning in their containment fields. Chen took her place at the small platform in the center. Above her head, a massive hologram showed Earth's solar system. The blue and green planet looked tiny and alone among the stars. "Welcome, primitive one," said Counselor Zekthara of the Veltar. Her 6 arms moved as she spoke, each one ending in sharp claws. "We have reviewed your species' achievements. They are amusing." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Chen felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her face calm. She pressed a button on her datapad and the hologram changed to show human technology. "Humanity has made great progress in the last century," Chen said. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber's speakers. "We have built space stations, landed on our moon, and sent probes to other planets." More laughter filled the air. The Kepler Union ambassador, a tall being made of living metal, shook his head. "Chemical rockets? How wonderfully ancient. We used such things when we were still crawling out of our home caves." The hologram showed Earth's greatest achievements: nuclear power plants, computer networks, medical advances, and artistic works. Chen spoke proudly about each one, but she could see the aliens were not impressed. "Look at this," said the Axiom Collective. Their voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "They still burn fossil fuels for energy. They fight wars with metal projectiles. Their computers are barely more complex than counting stones." The Sectar representative stood up. He was enormous, with thick gray skin and tusks that curved down from his mouth. "This is a waste of time. These humans are not ready for galactic civilization. They are dangerous children playing with sharp objects." "I agree," said the Veltar counselor. "Their planet shows signs of pollution and warfare. They cannot even unite their own species under one government. How can they be trusted among the stars?" Chen tried to speak, but the noise in the chamber grew louder. Every species seemed to have an opinion about humanity, and none of them were good. "They have no faster-than-light travel," someone called out. "Their longest lifespan is barely 100 years, said another. "They eat dead animals for food." "Barbaric." The insults came from all directions. Chen stood alone in the center of it all, watching humanity's dreams crumble around her. The High Counselor finally called for quiet. She was from an old species called the Eternal Ones, beings that looked like living statues made of white stone. Her voice was ancient and tired. "We have heard the evidence," she said. "Humanity has made some progress, but they are clearly not ready for full membership in our council. They lack the technology, the wisdom, and the unity required for galactic citizenship." Chen stepped forward. "Please give us a chance. We may seem primitive to you, but humans are creative and determined. We learn quickly and adapt to any situation. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We never give up." "Exactly the problem," said the Sectar ambassador. "You fight too much. Peaceful species do not wage constant wars against themselves. You would bring violence to our galaxy." "We have grown beyond that," Chen argued. "The nations of Earth work together now more than ever before. We share knowledge and resources. We explore space as one people." The High Counselor raised her hand for silence. "The decision is made. Humanity will remain under protective restriction for another 100 standard years. During this time, you may not leave your solar system without permission. You may not contact other species without supervision. You will be monitored and guided until you prove you are ready for true civilization." The words hit Chen like physical blows. 100 more years of isolation, 100 years of being treated like children who couldn't be trusted with adult responsibilities. "I call for the vote," said the High Counselor. One by one, each species cast their decision. The Veltar voted no with all 6 arms. The Kepler Union's metal face showed no emotion as they rejected humanity. The depths bubbled their refusal from their water tanks. Even species Chen had never heard of voted against Earth. The final count was unanimous. Every single member of the Galactic Council voted to keep humanity locked in their solar system. Chen stood alone as the chamber emptied. Beings of incredible power and intelligence walked past her without a second glance. Some were still laughing quietly to themselves. Others shook their heads in what might have been pity. The Veltar counselor stopped near Chen as she left. "Do not take this personally, human. Your species shows promise. In time, perhaps you will join us, but that time is not now. You are simply too young, too primitive, too dangerous." "We're not as primitive as you think," Chen said quietly. The alien's compound eyes glittered with amusement. "Oh, little human, if you only knew what true technology looked like. Your chemical rockets and nuclear bombs are toys compared to what real civilizations can build. Come back in 100 years. Maybe then you will have something worth showing us." Chen watched her leave, then looked around the empty chamber. The hologram of Earth still floated above her head, looking small and defenseless. But as she stared at her home planet, Chen allowed herself a small smile. If only these aliens knew what humanity had really been building in the dark corners of their solar system. If only they knew about the projects hidden in the asteroid belt and the construction sites beyond Pluto. If only they knew that while they were laughing at Earth's primitive rockets, human engineers were putting the finishing touches on something that would change everything. Chen packed up her datapad and walked toward the exit. She had a long journey ahead of her. Back to Earth, back to report the Council's decision to her superiors. But she wasn't disappointed anymore. She was excited. The galaxy thought they knew humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. As her small shuttle left the crystal spires of Zephyria Prime, Chen looked back at the beautiful alien world one more time. The next time she saw this place, things would be very different. The next time, they wouldn't be laughing. The next time, they would be listening. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council's rejection. Throughout human space, people went about their daily lives unaware that their fate was being decided in the dark reaches between stars. On the bridge of the Sectar warship Blood of Conquest, War Master Zekthal studied the holographic display showing Earth's solar system. His massive form filled the command chair, gray skin scarred from countless battles. Behind him, his officers waited for orders. "The pathetic humans think they are safe," Zekthal growled. His tusks gleamed in the red light of the bridge. "The Council protects them like weak children. But the Council is far away, and we are here." His second-in-command, a smaller Sectar named Vextar, approached carefully. "War Master, the Council's protection laws are clear. No species may attack another without provocation." Zekthal's laugh was like grinding stone. "Provocation? These humans are a disease spreading through space. Their radio signals pollute the galaxy with noise. Their primitive probes wander where they do not belong. Is that not provocation enough?" The War Master stood and pointed at the display. "Besides, who will stop us? The humans have no real weapons. Their fastest ships use chemical fuel like ancient toys. By the time the Council learns what we have done, we will control their entire system." Around the command ship, the Sectar fleet stretched for thousands of kilometers. 200 warships, each one grown from living coral and metal, their biohulls pulsing with alien life. The smallest ship was twice the size of Earth's largest space station. The biggest ones looked like floating mountains covered in weapon ports and fighter bays. "Send the message to all ships," Zekthal ordered. "We begin the journey to the human system today. In 6 months we will arrive to claim what should have always been ours." The message went out across all galactic frequencies, broadcast openly for everyone to hear. The Sectar weren't trying to hide their plans. They wanted the galaxy to know what happened to species who dared to exist without permission. "People of Earth," Zekathal's voice boomed across space, "you have been judged and found wanting. Your resources will serve better purposes under Sectar control. Your population will be relocated to agricultural worlds where you can work for the benefit of true civilization. Do not resist. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our bioships. Submit peacefully and your suffering will be brief." On Earth, governments around the world received the message simultaneously. In the United Nations building in New York, emergency meetings began immediately. In Beijing, Moscow, London, and Washington, leaders demanded answers from their military advisors. But the most important meeting happened in a place that didn't officially exist. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Admiral Sarah Cross sat in a room that had no windows and no name. Around her, men and women in military uniforms studied displays showing the approaching Sectar fleet. These people wore no national flags or rank insignia. They served something bigger than any one country. "How long until they reach us?" Admiral Cross asked. 6 months and 12 days, assuming they maintain current speed, replied Dr. Martinez, a woman whose job title was classified at the highest levels. "Their bioships are faster than anything Earth officially possesses." "Officially," Cross repeated with a slight smile. She turned to another officer. "Colonel Singh, what's the status of the outer projects?" Singh consulted his datapad. "Construction is 97% complete. The Leviathan will be ready for deployment in 4 months. The support fleet is already in position." Cross nodded. "And security?" "Maintained perfectly, Admiral. The Sectar have no idea what we've built out there. Neither does the rest of the galaxy. In the outer reaches of the solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune, something incredible hid in the darkness. For 50 years, humanity had been building in secret, while the world watched chemical rockets launch from Earth. The real work happened where no one could see. Hidden construction facilities floated in the void, powered by fusion reactors and supplied by automated mining ships. Human engineers worked in perfect secrecy, developing technologies that would have seemed impossible to their grandparents. They had learned from every alien probe that passed through the system. They had studied every piece of galactic technology they could find. And most importantly, they had learned not to trust anyone who called them primitive. The Sectar fleet continued its journey toward Earth, confident and arrogant. They broadcast updates about their progress, describing the easy conquest that awaited them. Other species watched with interest but did nothing to help the humans. After all, the Council had made its decision. Earth was not worthy of protection. On the crystal world of Zephyria Prime, Counselor Zekthara of the Veltar received reports about the Sectar fleet. Her 6 arms moved restlessly as she considered the situation. "Should we intervene?" asked her aide, a younger Veltar with bright orange skin. "Why?" Zekthara replied. "The humans were warned they were not ready for galactic civilization. Perhaps this will teach them humility. The Sectar are brutal but effective. They will put the humans to work on farming worlds where they can do no harm." Similar conversations happened across the galaxy. The Kepler Union discussed the situation briefly and decided it was not their problem. The Axiom Collective flickered with mild interest but took no action. The Eternal Ones, ancient and wise, watched and waited as they always did. Meanwhile, in Earth's asteroid belt, something was stirring. Mining stations that looked abandoned from the outside hummed with secret activity. Massive shapes moved in the darkness between rocks, careful to avoid the scanning beams of commercial ships and research probes. Admiral Cross received daily reports about these movements. Each message was encrypted with codes that would take galactic civilizations centuries to break. Each update brought better news than the last. "The weapon systems are online," reported one message. "Quantum drives tested successfully," said another. "All crew members in position and ready," came a third. As the months passed, the Sectar fleet grew closer to Earth. Their messages became more threatening, more detailed about what they planned to do to humanity. They described how human cities would be stripped for useful materials. They explained how human children would be raised to work in alien mines and factories. But they also sent scanner reports back to their homeworlds. These reports noted some unusual energy readings in the outer solar system, but the Sectar dismissed them as natural phenomena. Humans were too primitive to hide anything important from their superior sensors. They were wrong about that, just as they had been wrong about everything else concerning humanity. In the darkness beyond Pluto, the greatest secret in human history prepared to reveal itself. The Leviathan waited, silent and patient, surrounded by ships that had no names and crews that had trained their entire lives for this moment. Admiral Cross stood on the observation deck of a hidden station and looked out at the fleet humanity had built in secret. Dozens of warships hung in space like sleeping giants. Each one incorporated technology that the galaxy thought was impossible. Each one represented years of sacrifice and preparation. "They're almost here," she said to the empty air around her. In just a few weeks, the Sectar would arrive at the edge of the solar system. They expected to find a helpless world protected only by primitive missiles and chemical rockets. Instead, they would discover that humanity had been far from idle during their years of forced isolation. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's simple technology. They had mocked human ambition and dismissed human potential. Soon they would learn the difference between what humanity showed the universe and what humanity kept hidden in the dark. The Sectar were coming to conquer. They would find something else entirely waiting for them. Admiral Sarah Cross floated in zero gravity inside the command station hidden within the asteroid Makemake. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the impossible sight that had taken 50 years to create. The UNSC Leviathan stretched 3 kilometers long and 1.5 kilometers wide, its dark hull bristling with weapons that shouldn't exist according to galactic science. "First time seeing her up close, Admiral?" asked Captain Torres, the Leviathan's commanding officer. His voice carried a mixture of pride and awe that Cross understood completely. "Every time feels like the first time," Cross replied. She pressed her hand against the window, watching maintenance drones swarm around the massive ship like glowing insects. "How many people know the truth about what we built here?" "Less than 10,000 across all projects," Torres said. "Scientists, engineers, construction crews, military personnel. Everyone who helped build this fleet understood what was at stake." Cross nodded. The secrecy had been absolute. While the world watched space shuttle launches and celebrated Mars rovers, the real work happened in the outer darkness where no one could see. Hidden factories on distant asteroids, mining operations beyond Neptune, construction yards that existed only in classified files. "Take me through the capabilities one more time," Cross said as they moved toward the shuttle bay. Torres activated his data pad and holographic displays filled the space around them. The Leviathan is powered by 3 quantum fusion reactors, each one small enough to fit in this room but powerful enough to supply energy to an entire continent. Our faster-than-light drive doesn't use hyperspace like galactic civilizations. Instead, it folds space itself, allowing us to step from one location to another. The hologram showed a 3-dimensional map of the ship's interior. Cross could see crew quarters, engineering sections, weapons bays, and hangar decks that could hold hundreds of fighters. "Our armor is made from metamaterials that exist in 11 dimensions," Torres continued. "Most weapons can't even touch us because they're designed to work in normal 3-dimensional space. The few weapons that can hit us find that our hull actually gets stronger when attacked." Cross whistled softly. "And the weapons?" "That's where things get interesting," Torres said with a grin. "We don't use energy beams or projectiles like everyone else. Our primary weapons manipulate fundamental forces. Gravity cannons that can crush a ship into a ball of compressed matter, quantum disruptors that convince atoms to stop existing, temporal accelerators that age enemy hulls by thousands of years and seconds." They reached the shuttle bay, where a small craft waited to take them to the Leviathan. As they strapped in for the short journey, Cross asked the question that had been bothering her for months. "How did we do it? How did we build all this without the galaxy noticing?" Torres was quiet for a moment as the shuttle left the asteroid station. Around them, space was filled with human ships that officially didn't exist, cruisers the size of city blocks, destroyer squadrons that moved like schools of metal fish, carrier groups that could launch 1,000 fighters each. "We learned from the best teachers in the universe," Torres finally said. "Every alien probe that passed through our system got studied down to the molecular level. Every piece of galactic technology we could find got reverse-engineered and improved. When the Veltar scanning beam swept through the asteroid belt 15 years ago, we learned how their sensors worked. When the Kepler Union probe malfunctioned near Jupiter, we learned about their computer systems." Cross understood. "We let them think we were primitive while we stole their secrets. More than that, we took their technology and made it better. The Veltar gravity manipulators are impressive, but ours can create artificial black holes. The Axiom quantum computers are advanced, but ours can calculate in 17 dimensions simultaneously. The Sectar bioships heal damage quickly, but our repair systems work at the quantum level." The shuttle docked with the Leviathan, and Cross got her first look at the interior of humanity's greatest achievement. The corridors were wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. The walls were covered with displays showing ship status, star charts, and weapon readiness indicators. Everything was designed for efficiency and comfort during long missions in deep space. They walked through sections that contained technologies Earth wasn't supposed to possess for centuries. Teleportation chambers that could move people instantly between ships. Medical bays that could regrow lost limbs in hours. Recreation areas with artificial gravity and simulated Earth environments. "How many crew members?" Cross asked. 50,000 on this ship alone," Torres replied. But the entire fleet has over 2 million people. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, support staff, all volunteers who gave up their old lives to serve in secret. They entered the main bridge and Cross caught her breath. The command center was enormous, with workstations arranged in multiple levels around a central holographic display. Hundreds of officers worked quietly at their posts, monitoring everything from weapon systems to navigation computers. "Admiral on the bridge," called out the watch officer, and everyone stood at attention. "As you were," Cross said, but she felt the weight of their respect and expectation. These people had trained their entire careers for this moment. They had lived in secret, worked in isolation, and prepared for a war they hoped would never come. The central display showed the approaching Sectar fleet, still 2 weeks away from the outer edge of the solar system. 200 bioships arranged in standard attack formation, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. They looked massive and intimidating, like living asteroids covered in weapons. "They have no idea what's waiting for them," said Commander Park, the ship's tactical officer. "Our long-range sensors show they're not even scanning ahead properly. They're so confident in their superiority that they're not looking for threats." Cross studied the display. The Sectar ships were impressive by galactic standards. Their biohulls could repair damage automatically. Their weapons were powered by the life force of captured organisms. Their fighters were actually living creatures bred for combat. Any normal species would find them terrifying. But humanity was no longer normal. They had spent 50 years becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. "What about the rest of the fleet?" Cross asked. Torres gestured to the display, and the view expanded to show the entire outer solar system. Hidden among asteroids and behind planets, human ships waited in perfect concealment. Battle groups near Mars, destroyer squadrons in the Jupiter system, carrier fleets beyond Saturn, all of them invisible to galactic sensors, all of them ready for combat. "We have 137 major warships," Torres said. "Over 400 support vessels, 15,000 fighters, and enough firepower to sterilize every inhabited world in this galaxy if we wanted to." "But we don't want to," Cross said firmly. "This isn't about conquest. It's about respect." She walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was probably discussing trade agreements and scientific exchanges. They had no idea that the species they had dismissed as primitive had built a fleet that could challenge their combined forces. "Send a message to all ships," Cross ordered. "The Sectar fleet will reach the outer system in 14 days. All crews are to prepare for combat operations. This is not a drill. Humanity's secret is about to be revealed." The bridge crew began working with quiet efficiency, sending encrypted signals to every hidden base and secret facility throughout the solar system. After 50 years of preparation, the greatest military force in human history was about to be unleashed. But Cross hoped it wouldn't come to total warfare. The plan was more subtle than that. They would reveal just enough to make their point, demonstrate just enough power to earn respect. Humanity didn't want to rule the galaxy. They just wanted to join it as equals. The Sectar had chosen the wrong species to underestimate. In 2 weeks, they would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to prepare for anything, to adapt to any challenge, and to surprise anyone who thought they knew what humans were capable of. The galaxy was about to get its first real look at what humanity had become in the darkness between stars. The Sectar fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. 200 bioships spread across millions of kilometers of space, their organic hulls glowing with bioluminescent patterns that served as communication between vessels. On the bridge of the Blood of Conquest, War Master Zekthul studied the scanner displays with satisfaction. The inner solar system looked exactly as expected. A few space stations around Earth, some mining operations in the asteroid belt, nothing that could threaten his mighty fleet. "Begin the advance," he commanded. "Deploy scouts to map their pathetic defenses. I want to know every satellite and missile they have before we reach their homeworld." The massive bioships began moving inward, their living engines pulsing with alien rhythms. Scout vessels darted ahead, smaller creatures that had been bred specifically for reconnaissance. Everything proceeded according to plan. In the hidden command center beneath asteroid Makemake, Admiral Cross watched the enemy fleet with calm eyes. Around her, displays showed the positions of every human ship scattered throughout the outer system. The sectar had no idea they were surrounded. Range to the lead elements? She asked. 4 million kilometers and closing, reported the tactical officer. They're moving in standard formation. No deviation from predicted patterns, Cross nodded. The sectar were following the same attack strategies they had used for centuries. They relied on overwhelming force and the regenerative abilities of their bioships. They had never faced an enemy that could match their technology, let alone exceed it. Signal the Leviathan, Cross ordered. Begin Phase 1. 3,000 kilometers away, Captain Torres received the message on his flagship's bridge. The enormous vessel hung motionless in the shadow of a dead asteroid, completely invisible to enemy sensors. Around the bridge, his crew worked with quiet precision at stations that controlled weapons beyond galactic understanding. All stations report ready, announced Commander Park. Quantum drives are online. Dimensional weapons are charged. Gravity manipulators are standing by. Torres took a deep breath. His ship alone carried enough firepower to destroy the entire sectar fleet, but the plan was more subtle than simple annihilation. They needed to send a message not just to the attackers but to the galaxy watching from afar. Move us to engagement range, he ordered. Bring us out of concealment. The Leviathan's quantum drives activated with a sound like reality itself tearing. Space folded around the massive ship, and it stepped from one location to another without crossing the distance between them. In an instant, the pride of the human fleet appeared directly in the path of the sectar advance. On the blood of conquest, alarms began screaming. Sensor operators stared at their displays in confusion and fear. Where empty space had existed moments before, a ship of impossible size now floated like a dark mountain against the stars. "What is that thing?" demanded Zekthul, his tusks gleaming as he snarled. "How did it get there without our sensors detecting it?" His science officer, a smaller sectar with nervous eyes, studied the readings with growing alarm. "Warmaster, I'm detecting energy signatures that don't match any known technology. The hull appears to be made from materials that exist in multiple dimensions, and the power readings..." He paused, checking his instruments again. "The power readings are impossible." Zekthul stepped closer to the main display, studying the mysterious vessel. It was clearly a warship, bristling with weapon emplacements and armored surfaces, but the design was unlike anything in the galactic databases. It looked both primitive and impossibly advanced at the same time. "Send a communication," he ordered. "Let's see what these humans have built." The message went out on standard galactic frequencies. Zekthul's voice carried the arrogance of someone who had never been truly challenged in battle. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering with a legal salvage operation. The species inhabiting this system has been classified as primitive and dangerous. By order of the sectar hegemony, withdraw immediately or be destroyed." On the Leviathan's bridge, the message played through the speakers with crystal clarity. Torres allowed himself a small smile before responding. "Sectar Fleet, this is Captain Torres of the United Nations Space Command vessel Leviathan. You are trespassing in human space without authorization. You have 30 seconds to reverse course and leave this system, or we will consider you a hostile force." The response caused laughter on the blood of conquest. Zekthul's officers found the idea of humans threatening them hilarious. One ship against 200? It was beyond absurd. 30 seconds? Zekthul roared with amusement. Do these primitives think they can frighten us with one vessel? Even if they somehow built something dangerous, we have overwhelming numbers. Attack formation. Destroy that ship and continue to their homeworld. The sectar fleet began to spread out, bioships pulsing with combat readiness. Their living weapons charged with stored energy. Fighter creatures launched from carrier vessels, swarming toward the lone human ship like angry insects. Torres watched the enemy formation change and shook his head sadly. They had their chance. All weapons, free fire. Show them what real technology looks like. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt began with a display of physics that would be studied by galactic scientists for centuries. The Leviathan didn't fire energy beams or launch missiles like conventional warships. Instead, it began rewriting the fundamental laws of space and time in the area around the sectar fleet. Gravity cannons created miniature black holes that grabbed enemy ships and crushed them into balls of compressed matter. Quantum disruptors convinced the atoms in bioship hulls that they no longer wanted to exist, causing entire vessels to simply fade from reality. Temporal accelerators aged enemy fighters by thousands of years in seconds, turning living creatures into ancient dust. The sector formation, so confident moments before, began dissolving into chaos. Ships that had served the hegemony for centuries vanished without trace. Others found themselves trapped in gravity wells that compressed their hulls beyond the breaking point. The lucky ones simply lost power and drifted helplessly in space. Impossible. Zekthul screamed as his fleet died around him. No species has technology like this. It violates the basic laws of physics. His science officer was frantically trying to make sense of the sensor readings. Warmaster, they're manipulating space-time itself. They're creating localized distortions in the fabric of reality. Our bioships can't regenerate damage that exists in 11 dimensions. The blood of conquest found itself trapped in a bubble of slowed time, watching helplessly as the rest of the fleet was systematically destroyed. Around them, space twisted and folded as the human ship demonstrated the difference between galactic science and human innovation. But the most shocking moment came when the sector tried to retreat. The surviving ships attempted to activate their faster-than-light drives, only to discover that the Leviathan had somehow locked down the local space-time continuum. Nothing could leave the area without human permission. "Attention, sector forces," Torres's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Your fleet is defeated. Your weapons are neutralized. However, humanity does not seek unnecessary destruction. Ships that surrender immediately will be allowed to leave this system unharmed. You have 60 seconds to decide." The silence that followed was profound. Throughout the galaxy, monitoring stations and intelligence services that had been observing the expected slaughter of primitive humans instead watched the complete destruction of one of the most powerful fleets in known space. On Zephyria Prime, Counselor Zekthara stared at her displays with all 6 eyes wide in shock. The impossible readings made no sense. The humans had just demonstrated technology that exceeded anything the Galactic Council possessed. But that was impossible. The species assessment had been thorough. Earth's technology was centuries behind galactic standards. "Get me a direct communication with the human vessel," she ordered her aides. "We need to understand what we're seeing." But even as she spoke, more impossible readings began appearing on long-range sensors. Energy signatures were lighting up throughout the human solar system. Not just one advanced ship, but dozens, hundreds. An entire fleet that had somehow remained hidden from the most sophisticated detection systems in the galaxy. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, the sector fleet had been completely neutralized. Most ships were destroyed, but enough survivors were allowed to escape to carry word of what had happened back to the galaxy. As the last enemy vessels limped away at slower-than-light speed, their faster-than-light drives still disabled, Captain Torres opened a channel to broadcast across all galactic frequencies. "This is Captain Torres of the human vessel Leviathan, speaking to all species and civilizations within range of this transmission. Today, the sector hegemony attempted to invade and conquer our homeworld. They believed humanity was primitive and defenseless. As you have observed, they were mistaken." He paused, letting the words sink in across 1,000 worlds. "Humanity does not seek conquest or domination. We have no desire to rule over other species or impose our will upon the galaxy, but we will never again accept being dismissed as primitive or defenseless. We have spent 50 years preparing for this day, building in secret while the galaxy ignored us. That age of ignorance is now over." The transmission continued with coordinates and technical specifications that proved human ships were positioned throughout galactic space. Earth had not just built a fleet in their own solar system. They had been expanding in secret for decades, establishing hidden bases and supply lines that spanned hundreds of light years. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their technology, it was their patience, their ability to plan for the future, and their talent for keeping secrets that would reshape the balance of power among the stars. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened exactly 12 hours after the Battle of the Asteroid Belt. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in the crystal halls of Zephyria Prime with an urgency that hadn't been seen in centuries. The usual diplomatic protocols were abandoned. This was a crisis. High Counselor Ethona of the Eternal Ones called the session to order with hands that shook slightly. Her ancient voice carried the weight of species that had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. "We are gathered to address the situation in the Sol system," she announced. What we witness today challenges everything we thought we knew about the species called humanity. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing the destruction of the Sectar fleet. The images played over and over, but they still made no sense to the assembled aliens. A single human ship had destroyed 200 advanced vessels in 17 minutes, using technology that violated known physics. Counselor Zekthara of the Veltar was the first to speak. Her 6 arms gestured frantically as she tried to process what she had seen. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed that humans barely understand nuclear fusion. They launch rockets with chemical propulsion. How could they build something like that? The Kepler Union representative, his metal face reflecting the light from the displays, spoke with electronic precision. Our analysis suggests we have been systematically deceived. While we observed primitive technology on Earth's surface, the humans were building advanced systems in the outer regions of their star system. For how long? Demanded the Axiom Collective, their energy forms flickering with agitation. How long have they been lying to us? Admiral Cross's voice answered them from speakers throughout the chamber. She was broadcasting from the bridge of a human vessel that had just appeared in orbit around Zephyria Prime itself. The massive ship hung over the Council world like a dark moon, its presence bending local spacetime and causing the planet's aurora to dance in impossible colors. "We never lied to you," Cross said calmly. "We simply didn't tell you everything. When your species came to Earth 50 years ago and declared us primitive, we realized we had a choice. We could beg for acceptance and hope you would eventually consider us worthy, or we could prove ourselves worthy on our own terms." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had been preparing for this moment for half a century, building in secret while the galaxy ignored them. "You deceived us," accused the Deep Ones, their watery voices bubbling with anger from their aquatic chambers. "You violated the spirit of galactic law by hiding your true capabilities." Cross's response was measured but firm. "We violated nothing." The Galactic Council demanded proof of our technological advancement. Today, we provided that proof. The question now is what you intend to do about it. High Counselor Ethona raised her hand for silence. Her ancient eyes studied the readings from the human ship above their world. The energy signatures were unlike anything in the galactic databases. The hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The weapon systems could apparently manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe itself. "What do you want?" she asked simply. "Respect," Cross answered. "Recognition that humanity deserves a place among the galactic community. An end to the protective restrictions that keep us confined to our solar system. An assurance that no species will again attempt to conquer or enslave our people." The Sectar representative, one of the few survivors of the destroyed fleet, spoke from his medical recovery chamber. "You destroyed an entire battle group. You showed no mercy to warriors who were simply following orders." "We showed exactly the mercy we intended," Cross replied. 47 Sectar vessels were allowed to retreat. Over 30,000 crew members are alive because we chose restraint over vengeance. But make no mistake, if your hegemony attempts another attack on human space, the response will be total. Around the chamber, representatives whispered among themselves in dozens of languages. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight. The species they had dismissed as backward children had revealed themselves to be a technological superpower. Counselor Vexhar of the Synthesis Collective asked the question everyone was thinking. "How many ships do you have? How far does your influence extend?" Cross paused before answering, and the silence stretched uncomfortably long. When she spoke, her words sent shockwaves through the assembled aliens. 17 star systems contain human installations. 412 major warships are currently operational, with more under construction. We have established monitoring stations throughout this galaxy and have begun preliminary exploration of neighboring galactic clusters. The numbers were staggering. While the Council had been treating humanity as a barely spacefaring species, humans had built an interstellar empire that rivaled the oldest civilizations in known space. But Cross wasn't finished. "However, I want to make something absolutely clear. Humanity has no interest in conquest or domination. We built this fleet for defense and exploration, not aggression. We would prefer to join the galactic community as partners, not conquerors." High Counselor Ethona studied the data streams flowing from the human ship. Energy readings that defied explanation. Material compositions that shouldn't exist. Weapon systems that could apparently rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. "What assurances can you give us?" she asked. "How do we know you won't use this technology against peaceful species?" "The same assurance any species gives," Cross replied. "Our word and our actions. We could have destroyed the entire Sector fleet and everyone aboard. Instead, we demonstrated restraint. We could have appeared over your capital worlds with invasion fleets. Instead, we came here alone to talk." She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. "But understand this, humanity will never again accept being dismissed or threatened. We tried asking nicely for 50 years. You laughed at us. We tried proving ourselves through peaceful achievements. You called us primitive. Now we've shown you what we're truly capable of, and we're asking one final time for the respect we've earned." The chamber erupted in debate. Some species demanded restrictions on human expansion. Others called for immediate military alliance. A few suggested preemptive strikes before humanity could grow even stronger. High Counselor Ethona called for order with a voice that had seen the birth and death of stellar empires. "Enough. We will vote on the matter of human membership in the Galactic Council. All in favor of granting full membership status to the species known as humanity." The silence that followed was profound. One by one, representatives began casting their votes. The Kepler Union voted yes first, their metal faces showing what might have been respect. The Axiom Collective flickered their approval. Even the Veltar, who had laughed loudest at human ambitions, voted in favor. The final count was unanimous. Every species that had rejected humanity 3 months ago now welcomed them with full rights and privileges. "Congratulations, Admiral Cross," High Counselor Ethona announced. "Humanity is now a full member of the Galactic Council. Your representative will be welcomed at our next regular session." "Thank you," Cross replied, "but I won't be your representative. Ambassador Chen Wei, who stood before you 3 months ago, will speak for humanity in this chamber. She understood your potential for wisdom even when you failed to see ours." As the session ended and representatives began filing out of the chamber, many looked up at the human ship hanging in their sky. The vessel that had appeared overnight represented more than just advanced technology. It was proof that the universe was full of surprises, that any species could exceed expectations given time and determination. On Earth, celebrations erupted in cities around the world as news of the council vote spread. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They were recognized members of a community that spanned the stars. But in the secret facilities scattered throughout human space, work continued on projects that would have astounded even the advanced species of the Galactic Council. Humanity had revealed just enough of their capabilities to earn respect. The rest would remain hidden, waiting for whatever challenges the galaxy might present in the future. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of her ship and looked down at the beautiful crystal world below. The same planet where humanity had been rejected and dismissed now welcomed them as equals. It was a good start, but only a start. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had only just begun to explore their place within it. They had proven they could defend themselves and had earned the right to expand among the stars. What they would build next, what they would discover, what they would become, that was a story still being written in the darkness between worlds. The Council had laughed at humanity once. They would never make that mistake again.